Sadie, we've got an answer for you, and you've emailed and you've asked me for your junior project, what makes an effective teacher? What are the characteristics of an effective teacher? And I didn't think it was fair for you to hear an answer just from me, because I think in the end, it's all about the students. And so therefore, what they have to say about what makes an effective teacher is probably more important than what I have to say. So here with me today, this morning, is my news team. This is the South Burlington Network News Team, and this is one super crew of middle school students who want to talk a little bit about what makes an effective teacher. Where do we start, guys? What do you think makes an effective teacher? Yeah,
well, I think Mr. Hoffman's different, and I really like how I think an effective teacher, they don't do what they think a teacher is supposed to look like or what they're supposed to do, but they make sure that, well, it's all about the kids. It's not about them, and I think that's very important.
Well, how do they do that?
I think what an effective...
Go ahead, Ivy.
I thought what like an effective teacher does is maybe like what an effective parent does. They're involved in their children. They're involved in children's education. They do things for the better of for children. And oh Lord, I had one other thing.
So they're like a parent in that they care and you feel like they care about you, like a parent would care about your education.
Yeah, especially listening, because if they listen to what you have to say, you can get more out of if you're choosing maybe what you want to learn or something, rather than just being forced into something.
So, Annie, I heard two things. I heard listening.
That's Anne.
I heard listening and also being allowed to choose. That's important. Huh. That's pretty good.
I also hear from
Andy?
a lot of people, like a lot of kids, that they like teachers who are fun.
Fun?
Yeah, fun. They do stuff like fun stuff that keep them occupied and keep them engaged in the learning experience.
How does a teacher be fun without losing control of the class?
There's a fine line between things being fun and things being productive.
differs
I think
Ah.
if they did something more spontaneously without going exactly by the book, that might make it a little more exciting in the class.
Yeah,
Might keep students more
Yeah,
engaged.
definitely getting out of textbook because that's
Yeah.
really boring.
Yeah.
Hands-on stuff.
Using multimedia.
Yeah.
So you guys like multimedia, I know that. So
Obviously,
if we I get it. Here we are, right, shooting a video. So
don't like it.
incorporating technology
I
is something that
prefer
engages you feel.
What I also really like is that you let us use really nice materials. Like we are open to all these things, and we can use a lot of things that most middle schoolers don't usually use. But
So is that
Yeah,
what is that? Is that like a responsibility thing, or is that like we trust you to be responsible with
Yeah.
really good equipment? Something like that. Yeah. All right, talk to me about this though. How about so if I were to give a definition, I'd say, well, a really effective teacher creates a safe place for students. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of it though.
Okay, yeah.
With some added on.
Okay, what would you add to that,
I
Katie?
think that a good teacher knows how to establish dominance but also friendship so that they keep control over the room, but they also aren't this omnipotent force taking over everything. So you know that you're comfortable in the classroom, but you also know that everything's going to stay under control.
Yeah, that's really important. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that, a teacher has to have trust. A kid wants to know that the teacher trusts them. You're not going to be looking over their shoulder every second. Mr. Hoffman lets us go out of the room, even out of the school, with these really expensive cameras. And I think the kids think that, that makes them feel better, that you trust them. But then you're also a teacher and help them. So if they know that if they do something wrong or they make a mistake, you'll help them. So that's really important.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've always seen that as a teacher and said, well, I want my students to trust me.
Right.
But it's interesting to hear you say how much you want the teachers to trust you. Now, Andy, you were going to say something different to that. You were going to add to it. Did that cover what you were going to add?
I was gonna add personally I like teachers who make jokes and keep the room lively and happy, I guess.
Okay, good. And I heard you say a language arts teacher, and so right away you thought of a teacher that just likes to use humor, and you appreciate that. And you used the word happy. So being able to be happy, kind of like Katie was alluding to, not being controlled. So really, it's about building a good community, isn't it? And we haven't even gotten to subject area yet. Nobody said, well, it's how good you teach language arts or math or tech or social studies. We're just talking about community here.
I
Tell
don't
me,
think it
Ivy.
ever matters how much you've learned in education, because it's sort of that thing, what's better, like a bunch of people who are very, very educated or a bunch of people who are nice? Because even if the people are a bunch of nice people, they may not be smart or anything, but you'll still be nice. If you have a bunch of educated people, though, they could be mean and manipulating.
And what good is that, you're saying? Where does that get anybody? Where does that get our culture, right? That's really interesting.
I think that the emotions that the teacher expresses too also affects on how the students feel in class.
So a teacher's emotion, tell me more about that.
Like if they're really upbeat, then I think the students will mirror that, also being more upbeat.
Yeah.
While if they're more monotone and they should still stay strict, but more boring, then the kids are going to be bored.
They also had two different kinds of teachers in all my time. There's the teachers who look at students as people and the teachers who look at students as more like objects that they're supposed to treat all the same and fit into this one mold.
Just sit still, I'm going to dump
Yeah.
knowledge into you, be quiet while I do this.
Yeah, and it's the teachers that treat their students like people and realize that everyone is different, everyone has different needs, everyone is in a different place emotionally. Those are the teachers who really do the best job because they understand the workings of the classroom.
I like that.
I once had a teacher that couldn't teach her. She had this problem with teaching kids in my grade, to the point of which if you did something like barely anything that would be called wrong, she would just send you to the principal's office.
So you felt like you couldn't move to the left or the right. You had to worry about your views. I like something that Katie said, talking about knowing your needs. Like if they ask me, what do I think an effective teacher is kind of learning enough about your students that you realize where their gifts are. And you can say to them, hey, you're really good at this. You should work in that direction. And helping them unpackage who they are and say, this is your strength. This is your gift. Use this. I think a good teacher can do that with kids. Do you, Avery?
Yeah, but also it's gotten to a point, I've been in some classrooms where they've tried to accommodate it too much for some kids that they've either had to stay behind too much and then other kids can't go forward.
Being able to
So-
provide the resources necessary to challenge everyone
Yeah.
and not just the
Not just
help
the kids.
I mean, you have all these advanced students. And
You
then-
have the kids up here and you have the kids back
You
here.
have high achievers, and you're saying high achievers want to be able to be challenged too.
and
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah.
So don't stall out
Yeah.
too much in the middle and then ignore
Seems like
us, right?
all teachers want to encourage mediocrity, so to get the people in the bottom up to the middle and keep all the people at the top down in the middle so that they can have one
Sometimes it feels that way,
lesson.
right?
Oh, so help to
And
keep
I think
everything
that to
the
get out of the mindset of mediocrity is the only way is really the best step in the right direction too.
Maybe that's where Sadie's talking about not being politically correct. So you get out of that mediocrity thing and you supply these crazy ways for students to be challenged.
Politically correct is so strange.
I think it also
You have to
really
say everything. It's
a
much
good
longer.
teacher. It also depends on what to do in a situation of when a kid makes a mistake. Like a lot of teachers, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a mistake. Go to the principals." But others will take that. Like I know that you do this a lot when a kid makes a mistake. A lot of teachers take that and say that that's like the first step, and they can only improve on that. Like, when you make a mistake, you will never do that mistake again.
You mean
So-
celebrate a mistake?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
basically.
that.
So,
Yeah, we celebrate mistakes here, don't we?
Yep.
Hey, well, that's about all we have time for. We've got to run. Sadie, we're just starting our day, and we've got to get going here. So I hope that we've been able to help you and give you a little insight as to what makes an effective teacher. Everybody say goodbye to Sadie.
Bye.